Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Emily Jane. Firstly, apologies for the lack of video last week. It was half term in the UK and I ended up going off and seeing friends and family, and obviously I wasn't organised enough to pre-prepare a video, and when I was away I was a bit busy and didn't have time to make one. So sorry for missing last week, but I'm back today, and as you can see I am in Kev. He's looking very empty right now. He's been cleared out of all of my stuff. I have managed to sell him, which is great, but also it's quite bittersweet as this van means a lot to me. I lived in him for 2.5 years nearly, went all around Europe. Yeah, he's way more than a van. He's a symbolism of the freedom that I had with it. Yeah, a companion, a refuge. It was my home and I love it a lot. And I'm really excited about the person that's buying him. She's great. She's going to be going full time in him off to Portugal. Freddie, do you want to get off of the bed, please? Freddie? Oi. Anyway, she's really cool. So I'm really excited that Kev's going to a new home that's going to love him and look after him and go off on more adventures. But it is quite sad and I'm feeling a little sentimental. So this morning I thought I would share 10 lessons that van life has taught me. So 10 things I've learnt in the 2.5 years that I spent living in the van full time. So just before we start off, these are in no particular order. These are just little things I've picked up along the way. Some of them are a bit cliche, but they're cliche for a reason. Some of them are just a little bit funny and interesting little lessons I've learned. So to kick things off, the first lesson I've learned from van life is to always do something when you can do it, not when you need to do it. I think the biggest examples of this are filling up water, getting food, and perhaps emptying the toilet. You never ever want to get stuck in a position where you haven't emptied the toilet and you need the loo. That has happened to me a few times, and I learned very quickly to never let it get to that stage. So that was lesson number one. Always do something when you can do it, not when you need to do it. Number two, never kid yourself that the wind is going to die down if you're parked up somewhere where you think it is a little too windy to park up overnight. Often I found myself parking up on the coastline, up in North Cornwall, or going up to Dartmoor and going somewhere quite exposed, and the wind would sometimes get quite strong, and I made the mistake a few times of thinking or trying to kid myself into believing that the wind would die down if I just went to sleep and just got into bed and tried to fall asleep. It never dies down. It feels 10 times worse when you're in the van, and the van's shifting around a bit and moving. You can hear it outside. It's always worth giving up that viewpoint and just going somewhere sheltered for the night, and then perhaps going back in the morning and enjoying the view. But don't try and sleep in a place where it's too windy. It's for me, I sleep well, I sleep like a log. I found it too difficult. Number three is a bit of a cliche, but it is definitely a cliche for a reason, and that is that it is about the journey and not the destination. Specifically looking at the road trips I've been on, we've planned our trip around going to the different places we wanted to visit, and usually the best parts of those road trips have been the stretches in between those different destinations where we've stumbled across a really cool place to park up, or watch a sunset, or just something really cool that we didn't anticipate. So that's definitely a cliche that has been proved true in the time that I've been living in the van. Number four, I think, is quite specific to me. However, I do think there will be others in a similar situation. I spent 2 winters in England in the van. It gets a bit cold in England. It can be a bit miserable. However, one of the things I found really difficult was in the morning, waking up and it being cold in the van because there's been no heating on overnight. And the fourth lesson that I've learnt is to just suck it up, get out of bed, put the heating on and make a hot water bottle, and then suddenly it's all totally fine and I'm cozy and warm again. The worst thing was to stay in bed where I was sort of cozy but not really warm, and just stay there because I didn't want to have the few moments of it being really quite cold, instead of just getting up and realising that it's so much better when you just put the heating on and make a hot water bottle, and then it gets warm and cosy a lot faster. Number 5, again, is something that applies to lots of different walks of life, but it definitely applies to van life. And that is that life isn't always what it looks like it is on Instagram. That van life isn't always what it looks like it is on Instagram. Instagram, I think, is fantastic. It is a place to post really cool photos, a highlight reel of your life. However, I do think that it doesn't show the reality of van life all the time. It doesn't show the difficulties when perhaps the framework sprung a leak, or it doesn't show the nasty bit of having to empty the toilet, or it doesn't show all those kind of not so glamorous aspects. Instead, you just see really cool sunsets and really cool people kind of living this lifestyle, and you're like, yeah, that's great, but it doesn't highlight the less glamorous aspects of it. So the 6th lesson I learned from van life is that having minimal possessions meant I had a lot less baggage to carry around with me, and it felt like a lot of freedom. It meant that I lived a little bit like a snail. I had everything with me all of the time, and I could just jump in the van and drive off, and I had everything I needed with me, and I didn't need to worry about packing or planning to take certain things with me. I just had it with me already, and that minimalism gave me such freedom to just get up and go. And yeah, minimalism in general to me is a really freeing lifestyle. One, because you don't feel like you need to continue to buy things, you don't feel like you're in this consumerism mindset, but also it physically means that you don't need to carry as much stuff with you, so you're free to just get up and go a lot quicker than if, say, you'd have to pack up the house or whatever. So the 7th lesson I have learned from van life is one about my own self and my own preferences. 2.5 years ago, when I set out on this journey, I had orchestrated my work life to give myself half of the week off, and then the other half of the week I would spend working. So I would have, I think it would have been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and half of Wednesday off, giving myself half of the week to do what I wanted to do, maybe go off to Cornwall or North Devon or further afield, but to spend that time away, off adventuring in the van. And then Wednesday afternoon through to Saturday I would be working my normal work timetable in Devon. However, I realised quite quickly that that's just not how I operate. I really didn't enjoy going away for such a significant portion of the time. I really didn't enjoy going off for those 3.5 days each week, and I actually realised that I personally really value being embedded into a community, and I felt really pulled away from that when I left. Now, I really love the adventure aspect of van life. I love going off on road trips and things, but I like that in conjunction with being in a place and being known. So the way I ended up shifting it was I would work a normal 5-day week, which I still do now, and I have the weekends, and I go off in the van sometimes in the weekend, or often in the weekend. But then over the summer or Easter holidays, I'd go away for longer stretches, for more of a holiday, less than that being what I do every week. So I do a big 8-week trip to Italy, or I go off to Chamonix for a few months, or something like that, where it was more of a holiday, less than half of my week I spent without people. So that was an interesting life lesson I learned about myself, that I just really value being in a community. So this next lesson follows on quite nicely from that last one. I obviously had the weekends free, And sometimes I'd do something with them, sometimes I wouldn't. But often I would want to do something but not have something planned and just be feeling a little lazy, but know that if I got up and did something, I'd really enjoy it. So my 8th lesson from van life is to just start driving. And then once you're driving, once you're in the front seat, you'll figure out a plan along the way. So I would just jump in and just start going somewhere, not knowing where I would end up. Usually I'd end up by the beach or somewhere on Dartmoor. But it was that active step of getting into the front seat and saying, no, I'm not going to waste today sitting on YouTube in my bed, as much fun as that is. I'm going to get up, I'm going to get going, and I'm going to go and have a good day and have an adventure somewhere that I didn't think I would be today. But it starts off with that first step of, I'm going to get in the front seat and get driving. So my 9th life lesson from van life is very similar to that previous one, but on a much grander scale. It's the concept that if you want to do something, you just need to start. But specifically with van life, I spent a while looking into van life, finding a lot out about it, and it just took that step of committing to myself that this was something I was going to do, but then taking the step of buying a van and starting the conversion and kind of going down that path by doing it, not overthinking it and kind of freaking myself out about all the different scenarios, but just diving in head first and just learning things on the way and getting on with it, and then seeing if it's the right thing. Don't forget that these things aren't irreversible. So for me, I started off van life thinking that I'll just see how the summer goes. I really want to try this, but I'm not sure. I'm going to buy a van, I'm going to convert it. I think I'm going to really like it, but I'm going to commit to doing a summer. So I think I committed to doing 2 months in the van and then reassessing how things were at the end of that time. But it took that first leap into it for me to really get going. So I'd encourage anyone else, if you are thinking about van life and you're a little bit on the fence, just dive in, see what it's like, see if you like it. It's not irreversible if you don't like it. The final lesson that I've learnt, another little light-hearted one, just to finish, number 10 is that fuel is expensive. So road tripping, especially shorter road tripping, didn't actually turn out to be as cost efficient as I thought it would be to start off with. Obviously, if you're doing longer trips and spending more time there, then it does work out a lot cheaper. But for the shorter trips that I did, where I was covering a lot of miles in a short space of time, the fuel bill did rack up. And that was just perhaps something I should have realised beforehand. But there we go. Obviously, it wasn't all about the cost. There's so much more to a road trip than it being slightly cheaper. But that was definitely something I noticed. So there you have it, 10 lessons I learnt from van life. Obviously there are many other things that I learnt too, but these are just 10 that came to mind and I thought I'd share with you today. Anyway, this will be the last video that you see Kev in, sadly. He is leaving on Monday, which is really sad and quite emotional, but there we go. I've got a new chapter to my life, which is very enjoyable, and I've got the new little Roo the Kangoo. That was the name that won. Little Roo the Kangoo over there. So stay tuned for conversion videos on that. Stay tuned for more tiny house videos and kind of garden updates and stuff. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell, and please leave a comment if you're a van lifer, any lessons that you have learnt along the way too. I'll catch you guys in next week's video. Bye!